Hi everyone, welcome to Enjoy English School. I'm Steven.
I'm Minnie.
All right, today's day is September 11th. We're continuing with the subject of the Trans-Siberian Railway. Please refer to pages 28 to 31. The title, once again, under the subject of destinations, is Take a Ride on the Trans-Siberian Railway.
那我们今天9月11号一样在28到31的部分，那我们一样是在行遍天下这个主题里面，我们要讲的是西伯利亚铁路之旅。
Right, so let's find out more about the TSR. Along the TSR's various routes, there are some must-see sites.
那沿着西伯利亚铁路的各种路线，有一些景色是你绝对 must see， 绝对不可错过的。
Right, so here we see along the TSR's various routes. Let's talk about this preposition along first. Along means moving in a constant direction in a certain direction, okay? So along this TSR's various routes, and routes are kind of like a path that it takes. You can say routes or you could also say routes. Some people pronounce it routes, okay? So various routes. And various, this adjective means a lot of different routes. There are some must-see sites. Okay, must-see, this adjective, it's taking two words and putting it together. It just means that you really have to go and see these different places. And what are sites? They're popular scenic spots for people to go to.
OK， 那我们现在第一个字 alone 这个字，其实常常同学会跟 alone alone 独自的一个人的这个字搞混。那我都跟我的学生讲说，你要把 G 想成是你的脚。所以你就走沿着河边 along the river， 所以这时候你一定会用有脚用走的嘛，所以 along 就是沿着 ，OK， 所以要去跟这个 e 结尾的这个 along 做一个区别。然后再来 various 这个字非常好用哦，我们可能有听过一个字叫 variety， 是它有很多不同的选项。那 various 这个字呢，就是不同的，它变成它是形容词形式，有点像是 different。那再来 route 这个字，老师有说刚刚有另外一个读音叫做
routes，OK，
routes。然后 there are some must-see sites。must see 它你中间有看到一个杠杠，它其实是一个类似像复合形容词的一个用法，就代表说它是一定要看 must 是一定必须嘛，所以你一定要看的一个 site， 也就是 attraction。我们以前有学过 attraction，也就是景点啊，或者是很值得一看的事情，我们就会称为 sites。
Attraction is ATTRACTION, okay? And 刚刚 Minnie 老师说的那个 alone。独自，然后 along， OK， 这个两个的发音要稍微注意一下 ，alone， 独自，然后 along， OK， 所以这个两个要稍微注意一下。Travel experts say that it's a great idea to start your trip in St. Petersburg and enjoy the Neva River.
那旅游达人表示说，从这个圣彼得堡启程，欣赏这个涅瓦河的景致是一个很不错的想法。
Right. Okay. So St. Petersburg is a city in Russia. Okay, and the Neva River is a river in Russia as well. The waterway is crossed by many beautiful bridges, and a trip through the town is like walking through an open-air museum.
所以优美的桥呢，纵横交错这个航行的水路，整个游历此地就跟穿梭在这个户外的博物馆一样。
Right, so what is a waterway? It's a river or canal or any kind of route that you have to travel by water. Okay, and what is a canal? I just mentioned that, C-A-N-A-L. A canal is kind of like a river, but usually it's man-made. Okay, and it's made for the purposes of transportation or sometimes for irrigation.
运河
Right, so
canal.
that is what a canal is. Okay, so it's crossed by. So what does it mean by is crossed by? It means that there are these many different bridges that pass in opposite directions or different directions. So it's crossed by many beautiful bridges.
所以 cross by 这个我觉得中文翻译叫穿梭，我觉得很好，因为穿梭真的就是你可以从东到西，或者是从南到北这样穿梭。交错这样子。
Right. And a trip or a journey through the town is like, and this like is like 似乎很像 okay? Walking through 就是透过一个 open air museum. What is an open air museum? An open air, this adjective, it means that there is no ceiling. Okay,
没有天花板。
Yes, it's outside. Okay, so that is what an open air museum is. Okay, so There are lots of historical attractions to be found in the city, such as the St. Isaac's Cathedral, the Peter and Paul Fortress, and many more.
那在圣彼得堡可以看到许多历史的景点，像是圣以撒大教堂，或者是彼得保罗要塞等古迹名胜这一些。
Right, so here we see the word attraction, right? We mentioned that earlier in the first paragraph.
Sites.
So you could also say historical sites.
景点。
Okay? So anything that people want to go see when they go travel is is an attraction or a site. In this case, it's a historical attraction, so it has something to do with history. So the adjective form of history is historical.
形容词的历史。
In the beginning of the sentence, we see there are lots of. We could also say there are a lot of. But make sure if, just like in yesterday's lesson, if you use if you use a lot of, don't put an S at the end of lot, okay? So there are a lot of historical attractions to be found in the city. What does that mean, to find something? Does that mean that you're the first person to find it? No, it doesn't mean that you discovered it, okay? It means that you saw it, okay? It can be seen in the city. So there are a lot of historical attractions to be seen in the city. So these two words could both be used interchangeably, okay? Seen or found. Such as, or for example, okay, you could say, for example, the St. Isaac's Cathedral. In this situation, we're just using such as, okay? Saint, S-A-I-N-T. In Chinese, that is 圣 or 圣人, right?
圣人.
So for short, we could also say, we could spell it S-T period, okay? St. Isaac's Cathedral and Peter the Paul Fortress. So what is a cathedral? The difference between that and a church, and this is something I had to research because I wasn't very sure, is usually in Christianity or maybe Catholicism, cathedrals are bigger than churches in terms of like who's in charge of that building. Okay, churches are usually are taken care of by priests, and usually the bishop is in charge of the cathedral. Okay, and the bishop, his position is usually higher than the priest in that system.
所以刚刚老师有特别讲到，老师很细心的去做了一个 research， 做一个研究。他说这个 cathedral 大教堂跟 church 教堂有什么不一样呢？是因为这个大教堂它最主要可能领导的人是主教，可是如果是 church 的话，那有可能是神父领导。所以领导的有点像是位阶不太一样的时候，我们在它的称谓上面，教堂跟大教堂，中文也不太一样。
And bishop is spelled B-I-S-H-O-P. Bishop. And here we see the word fortress. A fortress is usually when there is like a town or maybe a building that is built for like a military stronghold. It's for protection. So when you see a fortress, it's like a castle, but usually it's to kind of protect themselves from outside attacks.
It's like forts, right?
Yeah, a fort. Fortress usually it makes you think it's a lot bigger than a fort.
Oh.
Yeah, a fort is usually not as big as a fortress. All right, let's take a short break. Next, Yaroslavl. I don't know if I said that right. I tried to look it up. My Russian is not good. Next, Yaroslavl, a city over 1,000 years old on the Volga River, is worth paying a visit.
This is very difficult. 那接着值得一访的是这个坐落伏尔加河。Even Chinese is difficult. 然后建成于千年之久的古城呢，这个亚罗斯拉弗尔。
So here it's a very good way to transition to this paragraph with the word next. Okay, it's
接下来
接下来. It's a really good way for the listener to know exactly that we're going to talk about another subject or something is about to be introduced, okay? So pay attention to these transition words. It's a very good way for you to learn them so that whenever you're switching to a different subject, when you're talking about something, you can use these different ways to transition. Okay, next, Yaroslavl. So here we're being introduced to another city in Russia. Yaroslavl is a city over 1,000 years old, so it's more than 1,000 years old. It's on the Volga River, okay, so that means that it's next to the Volga River. It doesn't mean that it's in the Volga River, okay? So even though on, we usually think it's on top, okay? When we say on a river, it means it's right next to the river, okay? It's worth paying a visit. What does it mean that something is worth paying a visit? If we say something is worth doing, that means that it's something that you should do, okay? It's worth your time, okay? It's worth your effort. And when you go to a place or when you go see a person, you can say that you're paying that place a visit, or you're paying that person a visit. Oh, I'm going to pay my teacher a visit, or I'm going to pay Taipei a visit. So you can say that you're not really paying money, you're just using time to go to this place or go see this person.
所以在这边 over 呢，也可以用 more than 1,000 year， 就是比1000年还要更多。然后在这边有一个 on river， 这个 on 介系词很重要。我们通常 on 都会以为在什么东西上方嘛，对不对？但是在这边，如果我们是用 on 加上 river， 那就代表说是在这个河畔，在这个河边附近的意思。然后再来 word paying a visit，word 就是值得 ，paying a visit 其实本身拜访它可以当动词，但如果你要当名词来使用的时候，它常常跟pay 这个动词放在一起 ，pay a visit 就代表说我去拜访，我花了我的时间，因为 pay 有感觉付费的感觉，对不对？所以你可以把它想象成我付了我的时间，然后去做拜访这个动作。
Right, so worth 后面值得做的那个事情，平常是 ing 的动词。Okay, so worth doing 值得去做。我们刚刚那个 on the Volga River， 我们说它在河边旁边嘛。如果它是正在那个河上面，我们可能会说 on top。of the Volga River. 如果我们说 in the Volga River，
在水里，
感觉很像在撑在水里面的一个城市。所以 that's why 介系词 prepositions are very important. Okay, let's continue. The city center is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
那这个城市的中心呢，它是联合国这个教科文组织世界文化遗址的一个所在地。
All right, so what is UNESCO? It is an organization through the United Nations, 联合国, where they kind of have, they see what are some important sites, or they decide what are some important locations that have cultural importance or scientific importances or artistic importances.
文化科学艺术的一些价值的地方。
Right, and then they determine that some sites, some places are World Heritage Sites. These are places that have a big significance, and they have to protect these places to make sure that they don't break apart or that they can stay preserved for many years.
所以像这个组织，这个联合国组织，它就是在保护一些世界文化的遗址，希望他们不要再继续毁坏啊，或被破坏，然后希望它可以延续它该有的一些历史的一些教育意义在。
Right, and here we see the word site, S-I-T-E.
Yes.
How is that different from the first site that we saw in the first paragraph, S-I-G-H-T? Okay, so that site, S-I-G-H-T, they're both pronounced the same, okay? The first site, like a must-see site or attraction, that is usually like a 景点, right?
景点.
But for a site, S-I-T-E, that's usually a location where something really important historically happened, okay? So this is the site where the Romans used to put on a play. Okay, 这个是以前罗马的人会在这里就是有一些剧场的一个点。Okay, so that is what a site is a historical important place.
所以 site 跟我们刚刚稍早看到 SIGHT 比较像是一个景点，它可能不是最新，不是最旧，但是 SITE 的话，它比较有一个历史演变的一个感觉，一个遗址的感觉。
Yes, okay. It is filled with centuries-old cathedrals and monasteries.
所以这里充满了历经好几个世纪悠久历史的这种大教堂跟修道院。
Right, so something is filled with something, 就是充满很多这些的东西。
Yes.
Filled with centuries old. So this adjective 就是把 century 就是100年, but it's 复数, so it's more than 100年. Centuries old, right? So many 世纪. So 它 maybe 200 centuries 还是300 centuries years old. Okay, and we talked about cathedrals earlier.
Yes.
And a monastery in Chinese is
修道院。
Right, so that's where monks and nuns usually live and work. Okay? From there, continue on to Lake Baikal, the deepest lake in the world.
所以从亚罗斯拉福尔，接着可以造访世界上最深的一个湖泊，它叫做贝加尔湖。
Okay, so from there, this is a good transition to let you know we're moving from the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Yaroslavl and going to the Lake Baikal. Okay, so from there is a good transition into this sentence telling us that we're moving to a different location now. And this lake happens to be the deepest lake in the world.
所以 from there 就跟刚刚的 next 一样，都是有点带着读者一起从上一个地方到下一个地方的一个连接词或转承词。
If you take one of the connected lines along the TSR, it's even possible to head to Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, or Beijing, China.
如果你搭西伯利亚铁路的连接的这个支线，那你甚至可以前往蒙古的乌兰巴托，或者是北京，中国北京。
Right, so here I wanted to say, mention to head to. When you head somewhere, that means you go in that direction. Okay, so in these connected lines, that means that they're a part of TSR, but they're going in different directions. Okay, they're going in what direction? You can actually go to two different other countries. You can go to Mongolia. In the city Ulaanbaatar. In English, usually we put the city name first, a comma, and then the country name. So Ulaanbaatar is the city or the capital, Capital, 首都 of Mongolia, or Beijing, the capital of China, comma, and then the country name.
所以在这边老师刚刚有讲 head to 其实就是前往的意思。你想嘛，你的头去的地方，也就是你前往的地方，前往这个蒙古或者是中国。所以你看这个铁路很神奇耶。
Exactly, it goes many places.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a short break. When you take the TSR, you can choose from different kinds of compartments, from first class 2 bedrooms to third class bunks.
那你搭乘西伯利亚铁路的时候呢，有各种的车厢可以让你任意挑选。那从那个头等舱双人的这个卧铺，到独立房，到3等上下铺车厢。都有哦，不同的种类。
Okay, so what is a compartment? It's one of the separate spaces in which a railway car is divided. Okay, so it's like the different types of rooms you can find on a railway car or carriage. Okay, so here we see from first class 2 bedrooms to third class bunks. So from A to B. Okay, so this is the different range, the range of the different kinds of compartments that you can find on this train. Okay, so from first class 2 bedrooms, so in the first class rooms, there are only 2 beds, so that's an adjective, 2 bedrooms, okay? To third class bunks. So what are bunks? They're beds that are on top of each other. You can say bunk beds or bunks.
所以在这边我们可以看到 compartment 这个字，其实就是我们所谓的车厢。所以我们 MRT 也有车厢啊 ，train 也有车厢啊。然后再来 from first class to bedrooms， 这个 two bed 中间有一个杠杠，代表它是形容词，2个床的房间。所以 from to 从这个高级的到可能比较亲民廉价的，它都有。
Right. When you say that the MRT, usually each car is a carriage, a carriage. If the carriage was separated into different sections, that would be the different compartments.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what compartments means.
所以有点车厢的话，我们如果是像捷运的车厢，可能它没有一格一格，没有一间一间，那这个我们就可以叫做 carriage，它也是翻译叫车厢。但是在这边 compartment 比较像是车厢里面又有分开的小房间的这种，我们可能就会比较叫做 compartment.
Good. Also, though there are dining cars, you might want to grab some food in advance in case you get hungry on the long train ride.
那此外呢，他要补充说明，要提醒你，对不对？虽然列车上它是有餐车的，但建议上车前还是要买一些东西吃，以免在漫长的铁路之旅你会饿肚子哦。
Right, so grab some food is trying to拿一些小吃的，抓一下，吃一些小吃的。
Yeah.
In advance， 我们这有很多介系词。In advance 是 before，
预先的意思。
预先。In case 就是以防万一。You get hungry. So get hungry means 你就变得
饥饿这样子。
对，变得饥饿。So if I'm hungry, I just say I am hungry. Okay, 我现在饿，但是 I got hungry 过去式我刚刚突然感觉到饿了。Okay, 得到了这个饿的感觉。 on the long train ride, 在这个很长的这个路程 okay? Other than that, just relax and take in the magic of the journey.
那 other than that 它也是一个很好的那个 transition 就是除此之外，除了这个以外呢 just relax 就好好的放松享受 take in the magic of the journey 享受这个梦幻 magic 我们也可以把它当作是一个有魔力的很梦幻的旅程。
Alright, let's go to the review. Alright, Minnie 老师 what does various routes or various routes mean?
那就是代表 various 有不同的路线。
Who are the experts?
就是专家啦。
Right. And what is a cathedral?
Cathedral 就是大教堂。
Right. And it might be in charge, the person in charge of a cathedral is a bishop.
主教。
Okay. And what is a fortress?
Fortress 就是一个比较大一点，然后防御作用的堡垒。
And what are the different compartments of a train car?
那就是代表车子里面不同的车厢，而且是那种有隔间一间一间像房间的车厢。
And I also mentioned earlier, train car could also be train carriage, okay? And carriage is carriage.
没有隔间的车厢 carriage。
And what if you do something in advance?
那就代表你预先做什么事情 in advance。
Perfect, okay? Hope you guys learned a lot today and a lot about the TSR. Maybe one day we can go travel.
Yeah,
right?
we can go together. Yay!
All right, see you guys next time.
Bye
Bye-bye.
第30页行遍天下，下一站西伯利亚铁路之旅。
Take a ride on the Trans-Siberian Railway. Along the TSR's various routes, there are some must-see sites. Travel experts say that it's a great idea to start your trip in St. Petersburg and enjoy the Neva River. The waterway is crossed by many beautiful bridges, and a trip through the town is like walking through an open-air museum. There are lots of historical attractions to be found in the city, such as the St. Isaac's Cathedral, the Peter and Paul Fortress, and many more. Next, Yaroslavl, a city over 1,000 years old on the Volga River, is worth paying a visit. The city center is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is filled with centuries-old cathedrals and monasteries. From there, continue on to Lake Baikal, the deepest lake in the world. If you take one of the connected lines along the TSR, it's even possible to head to Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, or Beijing, China. When you take the TSR, you can choose from different kinds of compartments, from first-class two-bed rooms to third-class bunks. Also, though there are dining cars, you might want to grab some food in advance in case you get hungry on the long train ride. Other than that, just relax and take in the magic of the journey.